As a regular listener, you've heard the appeal Cambridge Radio's making to help us continue broadcasting. Thanks to your donations, we're making great progress. But by the 1st of September, we still need to raise enough to secure our future through 2027. So, if we've made you smile, kept you company, or helped you feel part of the city, please donate today. Visit cambridge.radio/support us, and thank you from all of us here at Cambridge Radio.
Flavour.
Cambridge Radio.
I'm going to read you the menu. It's fantastic.
So we get better flavour because of the fen soil.
I've drunk more beer since I came here and bought my 2 barrels than I've ever done in my life before, I think.
I shouldn't have said almonds. They don't make it from almonds.
So you've got this big sticky mess when you start off.
Pizza Box Pints.
My wife's cakes are selling at hot cakes. Brilliant, thank you.
The time is right for this sort of thing.
Food is everything.
Cambridge is right for this sort of thing.
What's it like? Delicious.
Good afternoon and welcome to Flavour, coming to you live from our Gwynedd Street studios. We have the full team today: Alan Alder, Sue Bailey and me, Matt Bentman.
And we have a very full programme today as well, despite the fact that it's August and lots of people are away. We'll be hearing about how the drought is affecting local food, both meat and vegetables.
And wine too. I visited Saffron Grange Vineyard to see how they're doing, and also Frank's Farm, where they have just launched a cookery school.
I've been talking to a couple who sell surplus fruit to the public from local farms and give the profits to a local food bank.
And we'll have our regular features too: free food in Cambridge, local food and drink news, social media updates, and at the end of the programme, our jobs roundup.
But first, the drought, which, with the exception of a sudden downpour on Wednesday, continues relentlessly on. But how are local cattle doing in these hot, dry conditions? The answer seems to be it depends where they are grazing. Angelica von Heimendal runs Cam Cattle and has the very distinctive red pole cattle that graze in and around Cambridge. And I spoke to her last Sunday at their stall in Cambridge Market. Angelica, you have red pole cattle in and around Cambridge and East Anglia. I'm wondering how they're coping with this hot, dry weather.
So yes, we've been keeping red pole cattle in and around Cambridge for about 25 years. So in the 25 years, I've never seen a year like this one. The dry weather means, especially now that the grass is not regrowing, so grass is just died, it goes dormant, and this is the biggest time of year for grass to grow because you have a lot of sunlight and photosynthesis, and so livestock farmers really need that time between June and August for grass, and it's not just for grazing, it's also for winter feed.
So there's going to be a problem this winter then?
Huge problem. I think there are farmers that are already feeding what they have harvested in May when we still had some moisture, and they're starting to feed hay and silage now because there is no grass, and the cattle are going to be fine, but in the winter they will have eaten all the food that was preserved for that purpose.
Right, so what happens then? Importing feed?
Yeah, I think Scotland has had not as bad, but I think Wales and the West Country, where feed would have been transported, they've gone very dry. So I think there'll be long distances to cart food, and it will be very expensive.
What about things like hydration levels? Because green grass has got a high proportion of water in it, whereas this dry stuff we see presumably has a very low or comparatively low water content. What do cattle, do they suffer from dehydration?
So cattle need a lot of water. Unlike sheep don't drink very much, but cattle get, because they're ruminant animals, they have to drink a lot to ruminate because they have to make what they're eating very moist. So a cow would probably drink about 30 litres a day, and because of that there are always good troughs where you keep cattle. It's impossible to not have a place where they can drink a lot. I mean, now they're probably drinking more than they would. The nutrient levels in hay is not, in that dry grass, is not too bad, because what evaporates is the water, and people sometimes call it standing hay. So they're still getting enough nutrients.
So the water evaporates but leaves the nutrients behind?
Yes.
Yeah.
But what the problem we have now is there's no regrowth of those nutrients.
But the troughs, who fills the troughs?
No, they're like
water.
the water cistern in your toilets, so they refill automatically.
See, right, there's not somebody
so
going around with a watering can or anything.
No, there's a little mechanism that always keeps it to the same level.
Right. And where in and around Cambridge can we find your cattle? Are they all red poll cattle?
They're all red poll, and we are really excited because for the first time we're breeding our own red polls, because we have become tenants at Lower Valley Farm in Fulbourn, which is a county council farm that is made for nature, for biodiversity net gain. So we have Fulbourn, we have a wonderful meadow in Shepress called Riverside, which sometimes gets too wet, but this time of year, this year it's been a blessing. There have been years when we couldn't graze it at all because it was so flooded, but this year it's been holding its own. It's been wonderful. We graze about 40 cattle with the RSPB on the washes, and that is an amazing project. If anyone has time to go to Welney and have a look at the washes, that's 11 miles of floodplains along the River Ouse, and that is still green. And we have Midsummer Common.
And what's Midsummer Common like at the moment? Is that quite dry?
I would think of all the commons, it's maybe the only common that's still holding its own a little bit, because we have quite a lot of trees and because the river is so close. But I think all the other graziers are really struggling, and they've started to supplementary feed. As I was mentioning, they have to buy in hay that's only just been made for the winter. Coldham's Common, Stourbridge, Sheep's Fen on Fen Causeway, they are all commons, and there's not much grass left there.
Right, so sometimes a bit difficult.
I think it's the most difficult time, and it's so early. If you think we're just coming out of July,
yes,
and we've started
absolutely.
to feed, it's absolutely crazy.
Okay, right. Where can we buy your beef from?
Right, so obviously we're on the Sunday market every Sunday on the Market Square, just opposite Great St Mary's Church, like we have been for many, many years. You can buy our beef at Flourish Farm Shop. You can buy our beef from Plum's Dairy, so you can have it delivered to your doorstep, and you don't have to get milk from Plum's, you just have to be on their route. Open your door at 7 a.m. and it's there, so they have little styrofoam boxes, so have a look on the Plum's Dairy website.
Right, okay. So how do you feel about future years? Does it make you want to give up?
So I think we have been lucky with places like the Wash, and the RSPB has been telling me they get phone calls every day because farmers are so desperate. They were telling me a story of a farmer in Suffolk whose meadow is, one side is a river, and that's usually the boundary of that meadow, and the river has completely dried up, and the cattle have just gone into the river and walked up and gone into all the fields. So, and these kind of people would ring asking, desperately, do you have any grass? So I think we are okay at the moment, and we love what we're doing, and we've only just got the tenancy for Lower Valley Farm, which we're very excited about. But I think for livestock in the UK in general, it's going to be really, really tricky. And what you might see is that people just have to keep fewer animals because there just isn't the feed for them.
Dear, so more imported food.
Yes.
Shocking. Okay, thanks very much, Angelica.
Thank you.
A couple of stalls along from Cow and Cattle on the Sunday market is Simon Steele's vegetable stall, and I asked Simon what effect the drought was having on food crops. Simon, the drought's been going on for a long time. It must be getting pretty serious. How is it for you?
It really has become a major issue now, because the ground is so dry that even when we plant crops out, we just can't establish them, can't keep them alive. So we're losing massive amounts of plantings, both recent and some of the older stuff as well.
Right, anything in particular that's suffering?
Well, particularly on things like the lettuce, etc., that's really struggling. The brassicas, the broccoli, is awful. It's just not coping at all. And kales, we've lost 2 plantings of kales already, and we're on the 3rd and 4th planting, and we're just hoping that we can get them established and grow for the winter.
Oh, so this is next season's crops that are
going forward. Yeah,
so they are suffering.
They're really
already.
suffering, and the sprouts. I mean, they've been in the ground 6 weeks, and they're no more than ankle height. I mean, they've barely grown at all so far this season.
So next year they're going to be small and expensive, are they?
If this carries on much longer, then yes, or just not available.
Yeah.
Which is the other side of things. Yeah, the availability of a range of crops is going to decrease.
So are you having to spend a lot of time and money on irrigation then?
Well, we are, but we keep going in and out of bans, total bans on irrigation. So we might be able to irrigate for 2 or 3 days, and then the ban comes back in again, and we can't irrigate. So it's and because we don't have reservoirs on the farm, we come under the ban orders.
Yeah.
Which the Environment Agency are bringing in and out, depending on the river flow at Denver Sluice. That's the critical figure.
Polytunnel. You've got polytunnels.
We've got tunnels where we got our tomatoes and peppers, etc. Which are fine, except we're literally watering them 24/7.
It must be very hot in there for people to go in and pick.
It gets up over 50 if you're not careful.
That's not safe.
So what we're doing first thing in the morning, and sometimes last thing in the evening. We're going in and doing the work there, but during the day, no, it's just not practical to be in them, to be honest.
Right. Is anything benefiting? Are there sort of Mediterranean crops that are loving it? Are you growing olives?
No, not yet. No, I mean, there are guys that are committing themselves to olive. There's big olive groves gone up in Lincolnshire and Essex already this last few years, speculatively, but they are going in. To be honest, nothing that we grow is really loving this too much, I'm afraid.
Oh dear, well that's bad luck. So more expensive crops in winter is a likelihood, is it?
And both expensive and just availability. That's going to be the critical thing. Things at this current rate are likely to get short later on the season, because everybody, doesn't matter where you are. I mean, some of the guys up in Scotland are better, but even they've had a significant lack of rain. I know they're getting some now, but it's worrying.
Well, good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
It's a serious concern, this drought. I wonder how much food prices will go up in winter. And I wonder too how many farmers and market gardeners will go out of business. Maybe there's better news from local vineyards. We'll find out later in the programme. Now details of free food available in and around Cambridge, and the information about what's available and where to get it comes from the Olio app, which exists so that people's or businesses' surplus food doesn't go to waste.
And in today's look at Olio for Cambridge, we've got Suzanne. She's next to the central train station, causing a blockage on the line, no doubt, with a ton of goods. Organic and normal broccoli, sweet corn cobs, 4 packs of pak choy, bread, rolls, buns, frozen chicken, thigh fillets, and frozen stuffed chicken. She must be planning on leaving the planet in a hurry, I guess. Next up is Bubba Bus 7 in Clay Farm Centre, who's got lots of different size baguettes, hot dog rolls, wholemeal rolls, burger rolls, pain au chocolat, and white boules to give away. And Dee and Paul in Cherry Hinton are not to be outdone. In their preparations for the apocalypse, they have gathered hordes of batons, baguettes, square rolls, fashionable rolls, rolls that aren't following in their parents' footsteps, cheese top rolls, Scotch rolls, bloomers and paninis. Anything you want, they've got it, except for Roy Orbison. And that is our brief look at free food available on the Olio app today.
And another free app called Too Good To Go has unsold food from restaurants, cafes and shops, often at less than half price. Instead of specifying what each unsold item is going to be, the surplus food is simply put into our magic bag, ready for you to take home to save it being binned at the end of the day. It's used by all sorts of businesses, big household names and small independents, and it's worth a look.
OK, on to our first news break now for the 8th of August 2026, and we begin with the surprising news that Mark Poynton, who was recently awarded a Michelin star, as well as 3 AA rosettes for his restaurant at Caister Hall in Norwich, is leaving and resigning his position as director. He will now be focusing on his original restaurant, the Ancient Shepherds in Fen Ditton. The restaurant at Caister Hall is to close, and the last day of service will be the 22nd of August. The reason is to do with the nature of Caister Hall. New owners took over who were running corporate training there rather than a hotel. Mark said of his restaurant there, "I wanted it to carry on pushing harder and further and better, and without the hotel, we sort of lost that dynamic."
Big news from Margaret's in Chesterton Road. Their new executive chef is Mark Abbott. Mark has an impressive background. He was head chef at Midsummer House and then executive chef at London's Aqua Shard. He also represented Northern Ireland in the BBC's Great British Menu, and his appointment makes meals at Margaret's seem even more good value.
Flourish Farm Shop in Hildesheim are to start selling bread from Molino, who we featured recently here on Flavour. Deliveries will be every Wednesday and Thursday, and on Wednesdays they'll also be delivering pastries.
The foraging chef Steve Thompson is resuming his foraging tours. They start in September and will take place on the first Sunday of each month from his restaurant in Saffron Walden. More information and booking are on the Foraging Chef website.
Applications are now open if you want to stall at this year's Mill Road Winter Fair. That will take place on Saturday the 5th of December. The closing date for applications is the 31st of August, and you can apply via the Mill Road Winter Fair website.
The branch of Marvin's in Mill Road is offering regular coffees for £1 on Fridays between 8 and 11:30am during the school holidays.
And on the 12th of August, Finn Boys has a Bordeaux wine dinner with Cambridge wine merchants Hal Wilson introducing the wines. And on the 2nd of September, it's a Canada and the Pacific Northwest wine dinner with wines from Canada, Oregon and Washington State.
Yeah, I went to Finn Boy's Tuscan wine evening this week, and I can really recommend their wine evenings. The food was fantastic, and so was the wine. Very good value.
Well, every Saturday during the summer, Susan and Steve Abbs set out a fruit stall at the end of their street. It's something they've been doing since the COVID lockdown days. Now, it's just a couple of stalls, but it draws a regular, sizable crowd who buy up the fruit long before word reaches any local bees or wasps.
Some of it's a lot tastier than the supermarket fruit as well, since it's so much fresher. It's good fun.
Hi, Adrian.
Hello.
Do you want to come and get some fruits?
Yeah. Tell this guy how wonderful the fruits are.
Of course.
It's Cambridge Radio, isn't it?
Yes, Cambridge Radio.
Okay, right. The quality of the fruit is exceptional.
So this morning we've got a good variety. We've got two types of gauges, purple and golden gauge. We've got apricots, which is probably the last week for apricots this week. And we've got two types of plums.
Fresh plums.
Opals and Sanctus Hubertus plums.
Apples.
And Discovery apples and apple juice.
A bottle of apple juice as well, please.
Which is made from the farm that we buy the fruit from.
And it supports a good cause. Very importantly, I think it supports local food producers.
Food producers? Farms?
The fruit that we get comes from two farms, Heath Fruit Farm in Bluntisham and then Manning's Fruit Farm in Willingham as well.
So, local farms?
At Manning's they have a wider variety of fruit, and also some of the fruit ripens earlier at one farm than the other.
And the local farms grow more varieties.
That's another advantage of coming here rather than the supermarket, that some of the varieties you won't see in the general supermarkets. Yeah, the number of apple varieties that we've had, 8 different varieties or something. Pears as well. In November, wasn't it, we have an apple and pear celebration day, so after we've done all the Saturdays, we do one day in, I think it's November, isn't it, where we have a large variety of apples and pears. It's kind of a final fling for the end of season, and people can get their apples and pears for the winter. I don't know whether it's the weather that's had an influence or the cost of living, but the number of customers that we've had this year is down compared to previous years, I think. I've been twiddling my thumbs for 20 minutes before the first customer came on some weeks. There are quite a few elderly people that come, and they probably walk here, and I don't know whether, it's 2 o'clock, it's the peak of the heat, whether the fact that all this summer it's been so hot that's put people off walking around the corner to come and get some fruit, or whether it's the cost of living as well, or a combination of both things.
You mentioned some weeks. Now, you guys have your stall set up, I think, is it every Saturday?
That's right.
Starting from 2 p.m. When does it start and when does it end?
Good question. I think mid-July.
No, the first week in June this year we started, which was some 2 or 3 weeks earlier than previous years. Because the trees are under stress because of the drought, they shed their fruit to try and help relieve that stress. So the fruit has been much earlier this year. the supply may end earlier because of that.
So when you talked about the stressed trees, now some people might think, if we've had all of this heat, then that must produce extra large succulent fruit. But perhaps stressed heat and lack of water suggests a smaller fruit with a more condensed flavour.
I think that's right, yes. Because they haven't got that water content, what they have got does go into the fruit and will presumably stunt the growth. They can't produce fruit and grow at the same time if there's limited water. And also fresher as well, because we put the order in on a Thursday night usually, and the farmer prepares our order on the Friday, so they're picked.
I mean, the flavour is just amazing. Sorry about supermarkets, but the supermarket fruits just don't taste the same. I mean, they just taste so much better.
I mean, the supermarket food, sometimes you think, oh, that's very bland, and occasionally you get one good punnet of something and you think, oh, that was great. Then you go back the same thing next week and it's not the same again. Whereas these, they're consistently good. Once they're good and they've ripened. And that's the other thing, sometimes the fruit isn't quite ripe when we buy it on the Saturday, but if you leave it a few days in the fridge even, it'll ripen. And once it's ripe and soft, these apricots especially have been very sweet this year, haven't they?
Steve and Susan buy surplus fruit from the local farms at preferential rates. Then, the profits from their fruit stall goes to Queen Edith's food hub. So how much would a single stall by itself make?
This year we've made £270 already from the past 4 weeks. So that's not bad actually. Because usually in the first few weeks it takes a while to get going and the profits aren't so good on some of the produce. So the cherries, although they're very popular, the profit is fairly marginal on the cherries. Whereas the plums, because they're so much more plentiful, the buying price is fairly cheap and we can sell it at a reasonable price and make a decent profit. So when the larger volumes of fruit come through, the profit margin goes up.
We've been buying fruits from them since the beginning, and he's been generous in giving us discounts so that we could make enough money to raise funds for the local food hub.
And the fruit can vary from year to year.
Actually, we've had a lot of apricots this year. We weren't able to sell any apricots last year because the farmer didn't have enough, because there was some early frosts which killed quite a lot of the produce. But this year it's been very good for apricots. But he was saying, with the hot weather and the drought, he's worried about next year's crop because the trees are stressed and some of the newer trees haven't been growing as much as they should be. Some of the trees might not be able to generate the flowers for next year. And the size of the fruits is a bit smaller in some cases. Like these apricots, for example, they're quite small compared to some of the years that we've had them.
But we're coming to the end of the apricot season, aren't we?
Yes, people are stocking up. And lots of people make jams and, bake with them. So we do have a few regulars who always buy loads.
A bag of the apricots.
It's the last of the golden gauges, and this is the opal plums.
I'll have a bag of those, please, as well. Thank you very much indeed.
And do you make anything with all this fruit?
Crumbles. With the plums and sometimes with the apples, but these apples look too good to make crumbles, but they're just lovely to be able to eat. But the plums, I make crumbles, freeze and use them in the winter. Multi-purpose, they're a great purchase.
And they don't just eat them raw.
I also make plum cake and apricot cake as well, which goes down very well with a bit of cream, a bit of custard.
So that's Susan and Steve's fruit stall on Kinnaird Way in Queen Edith's.
They're brilliant, they do it every year, which is amazing. For a good cause, and it's lovely fruit, and it's local, so what's not to like about it?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Yeah. So that's good, we've finished now, and it's 10 to 3, so we've sold everything today. Normally, if we have anything left after about 45 minutes to an hour, after 3 o'clock, I usually pack up myself and go inside, but leave an honesty jar out with the fruit and kind of labelled, already bagged up, and sometimes we leave it out all day Saturday afternoon. Generally by the end of the weekend it's gone, just passes by and let's have a bag. And here's Rob, he's always turns up late.
Yeah,
Rob,
everything's gone.
He's all gone.
What's the time?
You're not early, it starts at 2 o'clock.
What's the time?
10 to 3.
It's 10 to 3. So you've been open 20 minutes? So you've got nothing left? No juices?
We've got juice if you want
I'll
juice.
take one of each. A sweet one and a medium one.
We haven't got any sweet.
I've raided the penny jar.
We've only got the Bramley and Cox, which is the less sweet.
I'll take 2 of those.
2 of those?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, how much do I owe you?
This is what we get. We get abuse from the customers.
Yeah.
And normally you pay extra for that, so yeah. How much are they?
£20, please.
I can do that. 3. 7.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob.
Not bad, eh? Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, we love doing it, don't we?
Yes.
All being well, we'll be here till September.
And Susan and Steve's fruit store will be open today, Saturday, at 2 p.m. on Kinnaird Way, and every Saturday for the coming month. Now, you might have to be prompt, though, because when I was there was a big rush of customers who nearly cleaned them out in the first 20 minutes. And there's the music signalling time for news from social media, and a reminder that you can find Flavour on Instagram. We are at FlavourCam. And you can also contact us by email, flavour@cambridge.radio.
Yeah, quite appropriately, Heath Fruit Farm have been on Instagram saying that their farm shop is open today until 1 o'clock, but they're also at Ely's Market with lots of different types of plum, apples, apple juice, orchard honey and apricot jam. And on the subject of apricots, Bushel Box Farm, who manning Fruit Farm in William's shop, they've been picking apricots this week. They've got a variety that fruits slightly later than the one at Heath Fruit Farm. Mm-hmm. So this weekend there'll probably be the last of the apricots at Bushel Box Farm. I bought some last weekend. They were fantastic. News from Coffee World, all sorts of courses: barista basics, latte art, brewing basics, barista advanced, a roastery tour and tasting, a professional workshop running all day, all coming up in August at the Coffee World Academy in Milton. And a message, or rather plaintive message, from Flourish Farm Shop saying that their Pick Your Own Flowers is going to finish 2 weeks early this year because their flowers are struggling so much. That's on their email that they send, their newsletter that they send, and they just talk about how dreadful everything has been with the lack of water. Anyway, that's social media news.
OK, after the break, more news, wine tasting news, our jobs section. We visit Frank's farm in Ellsworth. We meet some street food traders, and we make a return visit to Saffron Grange Vineyard. That's all in a couple of minutes' time. Don't go away.
Cambridge Radio.
Every Saturday night on Cambridge Radio, Chris Brown presents Cambridge's original Saturday night soul show with classic jazz funk, dance floor anthems and northern soul memories.
I'm Cambridge bred and born, and so I present my show and play my soul and dance music in Cambridge. People that listen to my show, then they'll go out to one of my gigs, and when I get there, people will say, "Oh, that track you played on your show, can you play it tonight?"
Chris Brown's Soul and Dance Show, on air Saturdays at 6 and anytime at cambridge.radio.
We are Cambridge.
Cambridge Radio. Welcome back to Flavour. Now, a visit to Frank's farm in Ellsworth. Louise Wilson, who sadly died recently, first went to Frank's farm for Flavour in January 2024, not long after it set up. I went last week to get a reminder of what they're doing and what new initiatives there have been. One thing that struck me is what a strong sense of purpose they have and how useful that is in guiding their development. I spoke to director and co-owner Paul Sanderson, who told me what they're about.
So we wanted the ethos to be everything to do with food and food related. So as you say, we've got the farm shop, we've got the restaurants, cafe, we've got an on-site butcher's, a bakery, we've also got a barbecue shop where you can buy the barbecues to cook the food. We've got a couple of independent operators as well that make all of the cakes that we have in the farm shop and the restaurant. We've got Danny, who makes all the ice cream. Again, she's got the kiosk out there, which is available at the weekends. So everything is to do with food, and everyone's working together. So you can go to the Pick Your Own in the polytunnel, and then those are the products that we've got in the farm shop. So it changes week by week, depending on what's growing, depending on what's seasonal. But then some of that is also put into the restaurant kitchen as well. So they're using that to create the dishes that are put onto the menu.
So it's all really very hyper-local then, isn't it?
We certainly try. Certainly where we can. We want to be working with local producers. We've got a lot of local products in the farm shop as well. We're lucky in this area, there's a lot of very good local producers of different types of quality products. It could be some chili sauces that we have. It could be some honey that we've got. It could be anything. And so we're really lucky to be able to work with and promote these local producers.
So what's the history behind the name of Frank's Farm then?
So Frank Davidson bought the farm about 100 years ago. It's still within the same family, which is Anthony, who I set this up with. So in homage to him, we've sort of gone back and used his name. came. But it was very different to when Frank bought it. There was about 120 people working on the farm. There's now only a handful. So what we're trying to do is take it back to its roots, get more people involved, more people understanding where food comes from, the fact that it doesn't come from a plastic bag in the supermarket. It actually has to come out the ground in some shape or form. So that's really what we're working on here, and just trying to educate and teach people more about food.
Is it still a working farm in the background or less so?
Certainly less so. There's a lot of growing of arable crop, but that's not really for the humans. It's more for the animal consumption, unfortunately. But it is something that we're looking at. We've got the land here, so we can go back to growing certain ancient grains and things like that could then be milled and used to make the bread and the other products that we've got here.
I gather that if, for example, you are coming along to one of the cookery courses, which I believe you're just about to start off, you can do a sort of pick something outside and then get involved with the whole sort of life cycle of preparing and cooking and eating. So tell me more about the cookery school.
Absolutely. So the cookery school is literally about a week away from opening. It's something that we've had planned for many, many months. And the whole ethos around this is to understand where food has come from. So to start off, for example, in the polytunnel, collecting and picking the veg, digging the veg, taking the salad leaves, bringing it down into the cookery school, working very closely with Carlos and understanding how to take and use that particular piece of produce. And then, for example, if you're on the barbecue course, you can go into the butcher's and cut some steaks, make some burgers, and then we can take you to the barbecue shop where we can fire up the barbecues and teach you more about the fire cooking. So the cookery school is really somewhere to learn about food, to get some more confidence, but also to have some fun further along the lines. So we'll do a whole range of courses. Everything is available on the website now, but it could be from very sort of beginners courses, trying to understand the basics of some knife skills, all the way up through to some very advanced courses, and cooking like a chef, learning and understanding some of the techniques that a chef would use in a professional kitchen. So there's something there for everyone, depending on what it is you're looking to achieve.
In one sense, it's a relatively untapped market, because obviously there's Cambridge Cookery School, but I think there's a lot of demand for this type of thing. People want to learn about food, don't they?
People are looking for experiences now. It's very much learning about different things, whether it's food or something completely different. What we've got here is a little ecosystem of the various different buildings, different businesses that can all work together to teach you about where the food comes from, how to prepare it and how to enjoy it. And, you know, these are life skills. This isn't something that you can just learn and then forget about. You need to know how to produce food to be able to sustain yourself. So, again, one of the courses we're looking at is for students that are going off to university. Talk to them about and teach them about how to use a kilo of mince, or how to do some batch cooking so they don't have to rely on takeaways all the time, how to cook more cleanly without using a lot of the additives that are put into some of the foods these days. It's a whole sort of ethos around good food, but also giving you the confidence of what to do within the kitchen.
And as we were discussing, you know, the historical home economics, which morphed into food technology, those skills are not really being dealt with in the same way. Or in one sense, you're hoping to fill a form of a niche there.
We're hoping to. We've had a lot of people asking us about courses to teach their children, because I just don't think they're getting that education in the schools like they used to, certainly from when I was growing up. So if we can teach them at a younger age and try and keep them away from some of this ultra-processed food, teach them that chicken and carrots actually comes from the land, not from a supermarket. Get them excited about the fact that carrots aren't always straight, that they are wonky, that you can do different things. The taste is exactly the same, if not better, particularly when it's freshly picked. If we can get them engaged at that young age, it's something that they'll then continue with, and ultimately they are our customers.
Customers of the future. You seem to have achieved an awful lot in 3 years. How have you managed to do quite so much?
7 days a week and 120 hours a week, I think. No, we've put a lot into this. Anthony and I are both passionate about the food and where it comes from. We've got a fantastic team here of everyone that believes in what it is we're trying to achieve, and our customers as well. we've got customers that are coming back regularly and, shouting about everything that we're doing here, which is great. And it makes it all worthwhile. It can be a very stressful environment at times. It's very tough with the economic climate, with what the government is doing, penalising certain businesses, particularly in this sector. So it's very difficult to keep going. But when we see people reviewing our food, the feedback and the comments that I get personally about everything that we're doing here, it's worthwhile, but it's a long, tough job.
The cafe looks fantastic. It's certainly being very well patronised, and you're very easy to access from Cambridge, aren't you?
We're not far at all. We're a couple of miles from Camborne off the 428, so the location's fantastic. It's free parking, something you don't have in Cambridge. So no, it's very easy to get to. We're very accessible for cars. Public transport, not so much, but certainly for the cars, it's ideal.
Great place. So, time for some more news now, beginning with market news. Several local markets aren't running in August, but Clay Farm Market in Hobson Square is. It's there every Saturday until 2 p.m. The next farmers' market in Caxton is tomorrow, 9th of August, and the next one at Wicken Vineyards near Ixworth is on the 15th of August.
Now tonight, the 8th, the Tickle Arms in Whittlesford has a Caribbean night with a barbecue and live music. The barbecue begins at 5, the music begins at 7. No need to book.
Cambridge Gin Laboratory has a gin and tea tasting on the 16th of September. There will be 5 cheeses and 5 gins. Each one matched the cheese. Bookings are open now.
On the 30th of August, the second annual Whisky and Gelato tasting takes place at Thirsty in Chesterton Road. That's at 4 p.m. There'll be 4 whiskies to try alongside 4 gelato flavours from Jack's Gelato. Tickets are available online from the Thirsty shop, and members of Cambridge Whisky Club get a discount.
On the 6th of September, Fermentable has a Ferment and Feast Day with a workshop followed by a feast. It's at Storiesfield Centre in Eddington from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m.
And finally, for this news section, in Congratulations Corner this week is the Oak Bistro in Lensfield Road, which has been selected as a finalist in the Cambridge Independent Business Awards. So well done to them, and good luck for that final.
I visited Saffron Grange Vineyard last week, and more on that in a moment. But when I was there, I came across a food van I hadn't seen before, Elder Street Food. Naturally, I went and found out about it and the owners, Anna and Greg. I asked them how they came to be doing street food. Now, there is some noise of frying onions in the background, so I do apologise.
So we ran a cafe just outside Saffron Walden in Debden for 14 years, which we closed at the end of last year, and we converted a van, and we've been going since March of this year.
And how have things been going? Because, I mean, that's not very long to be going for.
It's taken a while to get used to. It's obviously a very different operation. It's about finding the right sites, right pitches to be at. We spend a lot of time at local vineyards, microbreweries. We've done a few events for Porsche in Cambridge. So we've moved around Suffolk, Cambridge and Essex.
What places have you done in Cambridge?
We've done Porsche in Cambridge. We do a lot of the small micro pubs, so in Willingham, the Bank, the Kingbill at Histon.
So it must be quite a change from running your own venue to running a food van. So what have been the most tricky challenges, would you say?
I think it was basically the length of time that it took to get the van converted, the cost that was involved in that, and there were some delays, getting used to kind of working in a more confined space, and then obviously the main thing is being able to find the right profitable pitches, the ones that are worthwhile doing. That's the hardest part probably, but that's going to take time.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, as you say, it's still early days. So tell me about your offerings, because they're not your normal type of dogs, are they?
Jumbo hot dogs. They are not frankfurters. They are sausages that are made specifically from us from local farms. We use Great Garnet's farm, which are based the other side of Dunmow. So we use, our base is Jumbo Cumberland sausages. They also make Jumbo Merguez sausages for us. Burton's Butchers in Saffron Walden, they make Jumbo Borovos, South African sausages, and Toulouse sausages for us as well. So they're all locally produced. Most of them are produced as Jumbo specifically for us. The dogs are actually kind of based around world street food. So just for example, we do a Philly cheese dog, which is based on a Philly cheese steak from America, obviously, but instead of the steak we use a sausage.
And I've gone for the shrimp po' boy, or is it po' boy? How do you say it?
It's a po' boy, and it's basically an abbreviation of poor boy. It comes from New Orleans, from the workers that used to work in the ports and on the ships, and they used to come home hungry, and it was like a poor man's sandwich, basically. Yeah, that's where that originates from.
Oh, I'm looking forward to tasting it. And you have some rather nice sides as well, don't you? And a bread pudding. For pudding, I see.
Yes. We normally do a homemade baked cheesecake, basque cheesecake as well. We do roasted new potatoes that all have different flavours on them. We do different mayonnaises and stuff. We have a wine window here, which I don't know if you've ever been to Florence, but in the walls of the houses you'll find lots of little wine windows. They're years old, basically. They were used like during plagues, and were originally for nobles that basically made wine and wanted to sell it without having to pay tax on it, and then they sell gelato from them. They were used during COVID, so you don't see the person. Basically, there's normally a bell that you ring the bell, and you kind of order your glass of wine or your gelato through the window. They give you the card machine and they pass you the glass of wine. We've got that, which we can use for private functions, wedding receptions and stuff like that as well. It's just a bit different, a bit bespoke, not something I've seen somewhere else.
It's really cute. Yes, I'm looking at the window now, and it is very sweet. I like the idea of having my gelato or wine through their little window that's secret. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the summer, then?
We've got a fairly busy diary. Most of those are based here at Saffron Grange, at Wild Sky Microbrewery in Linton. We've just recently undertaken another vineyard called Bailey's Hills Estate, which is in Bishop Stortford. We obviously do with the off the beaten track on the common in Saffron Walden. This year we've tended to do more events like this. What our target audience is private parties, evening wedding receptions, but that kind of business is going to take time to grow. This year, next year, probably people have already got their events booked, so that's something for the future. And then hopefully move into kind of winter festivals, Christmas fairs and stuff later in the year.
Sounds absolutely great. Oh, well, best wishes for your very successful venture. Thank you so much. So that's Elder Street Food, and how do we find out about you?
So our website is elderstreetfood.com, and you can go on there and there's a page called Find Us. If you go on there, it will give you a list of everywhere we are, all our pitches basically for the next few months, and you can also pre-order through the app as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
There's Supercharge with Wine, 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 taking us into the wine news. And we start with King Street Cellars, whose next Book and Wine Club takes place on the 3rd of September from 7:30 to 9:30pm, and you can book now.
Also at King Street Cellars, there is a nostalgic wine and snack tasting experience on the 8th of October. Called Childhood Charcuterie, it pairs wines, ranging from crisp whites to bold reds, with elevated takes on snacky treats, such as a gourmet take on classic crisps, sweets and lunchbox staples. Booking is now open.
And finally, at Cambridge Wine Merchants, the next Beginner's Guide to Wine is on the 21st of August in the King's Parade branch at 8pm.
Last Sunday, I revisited Saffron Grange, the vineyard owned by Paul Edwards, to find out what's been happening over the last 5 or so years.
A lot has changed. We are now in the heart of local tourism on top of this concept of growing grapes to make wine. We've conquered quality of the grape in the vineyard, and we're now being recognised as having fairly decent tasting wine. It's taken a long time because, as you may recall last time we spoke, the whole process for us is that the wine is fermented once in a tank, then in the bottle to make sparkling wine. That process is a 3-year cycle now. So we're sort of making about 30,000 bottles a year now, which means we're now on a platform where we can sort of increase our size to probably 50 or 60,000 bottles over the coming years. That's a decent size for this type of business. The other things that have changed within this industry are literally the number of players.
Because English wine has now suddenly, because of climate change and various other factors, has taken off a bit, hasn't it?
It certainly has. So we're now talking about 1,200 vineyards in the country with probably a couple hundred wineries, maybe even a little bit more now, and they are growing. And of course, we are meant to be the fastest growing sector in sort of horticulture, viticulture. It's quite interesting. That does mean that we're on the map now. And I think people recognise that whilst our wines are still relatively expensive because of the start-up costs and everything else, we're here to stay. And so the journey looks good in the future in terms of the way we manage our whole structure. I think when you came along, we had two types of wine. We had a classic cuvée and we had a rosé. Well, now we've got several. They're all sparkling wines. We've got some different grapes. So we've added to our Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. We've added to that with Pinot Gris. As you know, we're on chalk, this rare chalk that comes to the surface here in North Essex, South Cambridgeshire and a bit of Suffolk as well. Here we are in drought conditions. Now, if you look through the marquee window there, you can see that lush green. That's our chalk, which is just below the surface, which gives us the water to the roots, which now have been in the ground for actually 18 years, some of them. We do tend to have no need for watering, which is great. However, every time we plant new vines, I use my borehole, and we do that for a couple of years until they're embedded, and then we can continue. But the climate has come with some quite different aspects to it now that we're into our third heat period of the year. And remember that once the foliage gets above sort of 38 to 40 degrees, if you prolong it for long enough, it will actually stop growth. And then you've got this dilemma of do we harvest and when do we harvest? So there's lots of new and different things coming out. However, well, I think we're still very well placed to really make quite a good inroad into this quite big growth area. And so last time we spoke, I hadn't really understood the sort of sales and the number of bottles that are sold. And of course, you're looking back at 21 during the COVID phase, and we were all still drinking about 170 million bottles here in the UK. And at that stage, there was only a few million of English sparkling wine. Well, now that's growing quite nicely, but there's still plenty of space for us to grow. Climate, it has got its negatives. Frosts are very difficult to forecast, so that we have had some issues there. So, for example, this year it hasn't been that good early on. We had really warm weather, and then it went very cold, and we lost a few of the primary buds on our vines. However, now nature has recovered again. You cannot stop a vine from wanting to produce fruit to survive. Should be a good year, and we could have some excellent ripening of our primary grapes.
So when might you be doing the harvesting?
Well, there we are. Now, that's one of the dilemmas. We look to start possibly a little bit earlier with our Pinot Gris and our Sauvignon Blanc. So we're talking about towards the end of September for that. The main vineyard will be early October. That's what we're focusing on now. What's going to happen? And we're just hoping that the drought, because there's one thing about getting water from the roots, but there's another one that you need general water, particularly just before we get to harvest, because it does give grapes the capability of holding their mass.
Just tell me a little bit more about the various events you're having now at the weekends.
Yeah, big change, tourism. We probably get 6,000-7,000 people coming through us every year. This marquee you're in at the moment is where we do our tasting. So we tend to have groups of about 25 people who come in. They can enjoy a tour, and we'll tell them how to grow a vineyard. We'll then ask them to taste the sparkling wine, and of course it's a bit of a different wine tasting session because it's sparkling wine, and sparkling wine has red grapes and white grapes but still finishes up as white classic cuvée because of the gentle pressing, the traditional method. And sometimes it's quite difficult to taste and sort of really know what it is you're drinking, so that's good fun. That's the core for us in terms of see the vineyard. But on top of that, we do family-friendly tours where we take the children round and we explain about all the critters and everything else that's in the vineyard. And that's super, because the children now are picking up the insects and sort of looking at them as, friend, not foe. But we have, on Friday evenings during the summer period, sundowners. Bring the family, sit outside, have a nice glass of wine or beer. Your kids can have a wander around, enjoy open space. That's been very successful. We have a whole variety of different food trucks that come in.
You're running these on Sundays as well, and you're running right into the autumn, is that right?
Yeah, we really start to shut down the tourism aspects just after the harvest. So usually everything comes to a sort of close in terms of access to all the things that goes on in the vineyard. Although towards Christmas we do have tastings and maybe some events.
And I'm trying some of your rather nice new Rebel.
The Rebel you're drinking, this isn't aged in the bottle for 3 years. This is about 18 months that we do. And that tends to have some very interesting, more fruit-driven flavours rather than the complex flavours of sparkling wine where you've got the taste of brioche from the yeast, etc. A lot of experimenting going on with that. And of course, because of the climate, we now start looking at, well, can we do Sauvignon Blanc and trying to make a red still wine. But of course, because we're focused on sparkling wine, we are literally making sure that everything is characterful of sparkling wine here. But it doesn't detract from the fact that our vines can now produce red wine if we so chose in the future. We're very low on disease, we're certainly low on water, but actually that in its own right means that we don't have the sort of bugs and the sort of fungal explosions that you would get if you were West Coast with highly humid land and all the rest of it. So good location, and let's just hope that we can sustain it before it gets too hot.
The vines certainly look flourishing. Your sparkling wine is absolutely delicious. How do people find out more about you? You have a website, I believe.
Yeah, the website is saffrongrange.com. If you want to find out anything that's happened or is going on, all the events, come visit us. The general experience in the vineyard is have a look at it, taste the fruit if you want to come during the picking season, and then you get to understand. Because, I mean, these aren't the lush Sainsbury's big grape. These are smaller,
exactly,
with quite a kick to them. And their acidity is not so much the rasping. So it's a balance that you get with wine. And for us, remember that with the sparkling wine in a bottle, it goes up in value.
Yes.
If it's the right harvest, you can keep it for longer. We haven't quite got to the Dom Perignon level yet, and that, I'm sure, will take us not too long before we can get to that, which will be great.
Well, thank you so much.
And there's the sound of Booker T and the MGs with Green Onions, and that signals the start of our jobs section. And we're going to begin with the Food Museum in Stowmarket, because they are partnering with the Migration Museum on its Community of Curators programme. Now, this is going to help bring diverse voices into the creation of exhibitions, exploring local migration stories from all across the UK. The Migration Museum will be moving to a permanent site, or migrating to a permanent site, in the City of London, where it will be open in 2028. But you can be one of those diverse voices. There's more information on the Food Museum's Instagram bio, including an application form, and there's also more information on the Migration Museum's website too. No previous museum or curating experience is necessary, as training is going to be given in September, and the closing date for that is the 23rd of August.
Part-time kitchen porters are needed at Restaurant 22 and at Margaret's in Chesterton Road. Hours are flexible, and if you're interested, email alex@restaurant22.co.uk.
And Margaret's is also looking for a part-time front-of-house staff. To apply for that position, just email alex@margaretscambridge.co.uk.
Clark & Son Butchers in Newnham is looking for a shop assistant and server for 25 hours a week, Tuesday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Previous customer experience is essential. Contact sales at clarkandsonmeats.com or pop in and talk to them about it.
The Three Hills in Barlow is hiring a pot wash. Full training will be given, and you must be 16 years old or over. Various days and evenings are available, but you must be prepared to work for the weekends. You can email them info@thethreehills.co.uk or telephone Cambridge 890 500.
Ely Markets is looking for a market supervisor and a markets assistant. More information on this is available on the East Cambridgeshire Council website.
And finally, the Rupert Brook in Grantchester wants experienced front-of-house people to join their team. Full and part-time positions are available. And that takes us to the end of our programme for today. Don't forget that we are here on alternate Saturdays at 12 noon. We are repeated on Monday at 2 p.m. and next week also on Thursday at 6 p.m. And we're also available as a podcast from all of the usual places. But if you can't wait, just hit that on-demand button on the Cambridge Radio website.
But that's all from us for today. After the news at 1 p.m. is Christine Schneider, and at 2 p.m. Strummers and Dreamers. We'll be back on the 22nd of August with lots more food and drink news, jobs and features. So, until then, thanks for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.